بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والمرسلات عرفا فالعاصفات عصفا والناشرات نشرا فالفارقات فرقا.
The Fried Gallery of Art and the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery form the Smithsonian Institute's National Museum of Asian Art in the United States. The Fried and Sackler Galleries house the largest Asian art research library in the country and contain art from various parts of Asia, the Islamic world, the Near East, as well as significant collections of American art. The gallery is located on the south side of the National Mall in Washington, D.C. The Fried Gallery of Art opened to the public in 1923 and the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery in 1987. Both are physically connected through an underground passageway and ideologically linked through the study, exhibit, and sheer love of Asian art. In recognition of one of the world's extraordinary collections of Qur'ans, the Fried Sackler hosted a landmark exhibit, the first of its kind in the United States. The exhibit was held from October 22, 2016 to February 20, 2017. Some 50 of the most magnificent manuscripts from Herat to Istanbul were featured in the Art of the Qur'an, treasures from the Museum of Turkish and Islamic Art. The Museum of Turkish and Islamic Art plays an integral role in the rich cultural history of Istanbul. It opened to the public in 1914 and consists of treasures that the Ottomans had endowed to religious institutions throughout the empire since at least the 1500s. When the unity of the empire was threatened, the government transferred these works to Istanbul for safekeeping. With the formation of the Republic of Turkey in 1923, the institution changed its name to the Museum of Turkish and Islamic Art. Celebrated for their superb calligraphy and lavish illuminations, these manuscripts, which range in date from the early 8th to the 17th century, define a critical aspect of the history of the art of the Qur'an. They were once the prized possession of Ottoman sultans and a ruling elite, who donated their Qur'ans to various institutions to express their personal piety and secure political power. Each manuscript tells a unique story that can only partially be revealed in this video. As the Word of God for Muslims, the Quran is first and foremost an oral tradition. It was revealed in Arabic to the Prophet Muhammad through the Archangel Gabriel from about 610 until the Prophet's death in 1632. The Quran embodies the totality of the revelations, and it has not changed to this day. The oral narrative was written down over the centuries and sumptuously illustrated, as can be seen from these few samples. Rather than offering an overarching narrative, the Quran combines stories, teachings, and warnings. These messages are repeated intermittently throughout the texts, each time from a slightly different perspective, as a way to amplify and reinforce the underlying message. The Quran unequivocally acknowledges the single omnipotent God. He is the creator and sustainer of a world and the one who offers guidance to men and women throughout the revelations. Through its message, the Quran stresses some of the central doctrines of Islam, such as trust in the one all-knowing God, the centrality of the divine message for Muslims, the role of prophets as guides to moral and ethical conduct, and the inevitability of Judgment Day. Two gifted calligraphers created this copy of the Quran in the early 14th century for the Mongol ruler Ulugh II, a descendant of Genghis Khan. After his death, reciters prayed for his eternal salvation by reading this text over his tomb. This Quran, like all Qurans, is divided into 30 equal sections, which helps worshippers read the entire text over the course of a month, a practice that is especially popular during Ramadan. Let's explore this text in a little bit more detail. In this box, placed in the margin, this medallion is inscribed with the word 25, indicating that the reader has reached the 25th verse of the Quran. Arabic text reads from right to left, and in this verse, which is number 25 from the Quran, states that we never sent any messenger before you, speaking to Muhammad, without revealing to him, there is no God but me, so serve me. Chinese papermakers introduced paper to the Islamic world in 1751. These pages follow the largest format used in the early 14th century. Each one measures about 70 by 50 centimeters. Each portfolio consists of 5 lines of text. The black lines are finely outlined in gold, while the gold lines are outlined in black. Writing in gold is known as Christography, which is taken from the ancient Greek word for gold writing. And finally, we note that illuminated roundels mark the end of each of approximately 6,240 verses in the Quran. There's much more to be explored in this text, and you can see that by taking a look at the website that's listed below, where most of the material in this video was taken from. Since the late 7th century, the text of the Quran has been carefully transcribed and decorated, first on parchment and later on paper. Many manuscripts became prized possessions of wealthy and educated elites throughout the Islamic world. Decades or even centuries after copies of the Quran were created in cities such as Herat, Baghdad, and Cairo, Ottoman sultans, queens, and viziers acquired some of the most precious ones. Inscriptions, notes, and repairs provide a snapshot of the manuscript's history, including their long-distance travel before the early 20th century, when they finally settled in Istanbul's Museum of Turkish and Islamic Art. The Smithsonian website created for this exhibit provides details on the travel of 6 manuscripts. In the comment box below, you can see the URL for that website. We follow the travel of a manuscript that we previously reviewed. This Quran is one of a 30-volume set. It was produced in the early 14th century in Baghdad. The Mongol ruler Ulugh II, who reigned between 1304 and 1316, commissioned this manuscript for his monumental mausoleum. The Ottoman Sultan Suleiman I, who reigned in the mid-1500s, stayed in Suleiman during a military campaign in Iran. He may have acquired volumes of the Quran, including this one, and brought them back to Istanbul after the campaign. Rustam Pasha, a powerful Grand Vizier, acquired one of these volumes and endowed it to the tomb of Suleiman's beloved son, who died of smallpox. In 1914, it was transferred to the present-day Museum of Turkish and Islamic Art. The content of the Quran has not changed since the beginning of Islam in the 7th century. However, by choosing different sizes, formats, materials, and calligraphic styles and illuminations, artists have created a stunning variety of Qur'an manuscripts throughout the ages. What follows are samples of the Qur'an, both large and small, that serve as a testament to the creativity in the transcription of the words of Muhammad. Many of the Qur'ans on display are illuminated with gold. Gold leaf was used on numerous volumes and gold paint on others. Gold paint was made by crushing gold leaf in honey with a little gum arabic added. Occasionally you will see a Qur'an that has used both techniques. When magnified, as shown on this page, the two techniques can be distinguished. The upper right-hand portion of this page was created using gold leaf with its irregular edges, while the lower left-hand portion used gold paint, which produced more uniform boundaries. When viewing these beautifully illuminated manuscripts, you might wonder, how did the artist create such uniform shapes like a circle? On very close examination, using a magnifying glass or a microscope, you can discern a small indentation left by the point of a compass. The Qur'ans could be divided into 2, 3, 7, or up to 60 equal parts, but the most common division was 30. These two manuscripts are the 4th and the 16th section of a finely decorated set from the early 15th century. Such multiple sets of Qur'ans were bound individually so more than one person could read the sacred text simultaneously. Several Qur'ans on display were open to particular surahs of the holy text. For example, this Qur'an is open to Surah 5-6, which provides guidance for ceremonial acts of washing parts of the body. This is known as ablution. Surah 4-25-6, which is displayed in this particular Qur'an, lauds Abraham. His characterization in the Qur'an is largely consistent with that in the Christian Bible. Qur'ans were produced in many sizes, styles, formats, material, and calligraphic styles. What is believed to be one of the few remaining examples of an enormous manuscript that was produced for Timur, who established a vast empire centered on Iran and Central Asia during the late 14th century. This manuscript is about 6 feet by 3 feet and was photographed from a stairwell coming down to the exhibit. One example of a master calligrapher and illuminator was described in a plaque next to this beautiful 4-piece of a Qur'an. It is apparent, looking at a number of the Qur'ans, that these books are rather large, and stands to hold those books were beautifully crafted, as you can see in this picture. I conclude this video with examples of several more beautifully inscribed and illuminated Qur'ans.